Good morning, everyone. It's not even 9 o'clock yet, and it's over 20 degrees Celsius. It's going to get stinking hot again today. Oh, let's get a bunny rabbit. Even the bunny rabbit wants to quit for the day. There he is. I don't know if I can zoom in. No, he's gone. Wildlife. So today, odds and ends. Got to clean up the skid steer a little bit and knock down some logs so that we can be splitting firewood next week. The piles are a little too tall to work off of. And then I got to be in the shop and I got to swap out a circuit board for the CBN sharpener that we have. Still having issues with it. I have a spare circuit board that was sent to me by Wood-mizer for the other sharpener that we had issues with. So I'm going to swap that out. I don't think it's going to work because I'm pretty sure that the relays for that circuit board won't match with the spare that I have, but we'll find out. And so knock down logs, clean up the skid steer, replace the circuit board, and then if all goes well, sharpen some saw blades, and we'll probably call that a day. Okay, on to it. Right, so now we're in the shop and we have to change the circuit board, hopefully in the correct order, on this BMS250 sharpener. And this is based on a recommendation from Jason at Wood-mizer in the US division. We traced 120 volts into the transformer, 14 volts out. These two red wires, 14 volt, lead to these two red wires here, which also register 14 volt. And those two wires connect on the circuit board and go to the F2 fuse, which is behind this little circuit panel. This here is a 5 amp fuse, glass fuse. So it registers 14 volts in, 14 volts out, and from here down to these two terminals, which controls this switch for feeding the motor, the push rod for the blades. Yeah, that's only registering I think it was 8.7 volts, 8 point something volts anyway. So it should be 14. This here, what you're seeing here, is a little jumper wire that Jason was experimenting to see if the two wires had an issue for the proximity switch. If I'm not mistaken, these two terminals here control the proximity switch. By putting the jumper in, the proximity switch will no longer trigger off. We wanted to eliminate the proximity switch out of this troubleshooting scenario. And once we did that and traced the 14 volts, we found that from here to here was only 8 point something volts. So recommendation is this whole circuit board's got to come out. I have a spare here. It's a different board. This one's the electric brand, and this one here is a Sobansky. So I'm just gonna pull up a stool here and we're gonna have a chat about the history of these boards and these CBN sharpeners in general, based on my experience anyway. So about 2018 I bought this model and had some issues at first with the F3 fuse kept blowing. Based on recommendation from Wood-mizer, I replaced it with rather than a standard glass filament fuse, we replaced it with glass filament fuse but filled with silica. And that would lessen the chance of that 1.6 amp wire triggering off, breaking, blowing, whatever you want to call it. And so since I put that silica fuse in the F3 position, it's been working great. Like I said, this is the Sobansky card circuit board. I got to the point where I needed a second machine. Bought that in 2020. It came in the winter of 2021. And from the get-go out of the crate, it wouldn't work. Several months of troubleshooting, trying to figure out what was wrong with it. Let me backtrack a little bit. I mean, they may look the same, but they're slightly different. Like the control panels on the front, the switches and knobs are a little different. The setup inside here seems to be the same, except the boards are different. That's a Sobansky on the one from 2018, and the one is an electric brand. So we had determined that there was something faulty with the board, and so we swapped it out. And we swapped it out with I should double check. I think we swapped it out for a Sobansky board. I'm just going to look at this other. Let's see here. Yeah, so it's a Sobansky board as well. And the reason we went with the Sobansky again is because that's what was on this original, and it was working great. So now we're at 2023. Apparently you can't get the Sobansky card circuit boards anymore. Jason from down in the States of Wood-mizer had said that, you know, here's the part numbers. I get all the relays, the two P1 and P2 relays, and get a Sabansky board and just swap them out and you'll be good to go. You might not even have to replace your relays, but you got to replace the circuit board. So come to find out, when ordering parts through Eastern Canada Wood-mizer, Sabansky cards aren't available anymore. One other thing that's different about that machine and this machine, these P1 and P2, these are Relpol brand. The ones on the newer machines are Finders. So I guess Finder, however you pronounce it, that's the relays that are now offered. At the moment, I have an electric board, although I want a Sabansky, but I'm going to put this electric board here. These Relpol fuses are going to go on this board, and we're going to see if it's going to work. I think I recall correctly the conversation when I was trying to fix that machine over there, that you can't, Relpol's fuse relays won't work on electric boards, and Finder relays won't work on Sabansky boards. So anyway, I mean, that's my recollection. I could be wrong, but either way, we're going to swap out these boards and we're going to see what becomes of it. Alright, so I'm going to put this away for now. And the first thing I've got to do is unplug the unit. So recollection serves me right. Their circuit board is held with 3 screws, and then this pulls out, but I'm pretty sure the main aluminum panel in the back, the whole thing has to come out, because I don't think there's enough, the wires aren't long enough to remove this card. I think I recall I had this sitting here and the new one, and then I was just pulling one wire off, putting on the new one, pulling the next wire off, put them all in the same place. So that's what we're going to do. I don't know if that's the right size or not, but let's see. Yep. So that's a 1/2 inch. Being that these are made in Poland, this is probably actually a metric equivalent, 10 mil maybe. But so I need a Phillips screwdriver. I think there's another screw in back there. There is too. Alright, so these are 211 volts. The 14s go here. The next 2 jumper wires, this one jumps to this one, and this one jumps to that one, and these are 110, and then the neutral's up there. I'm going to leave those jumpers there. This is tricky because I don't want to lose my, how am I going to know which 14 goes where? So I think what I need to do, I'm going to take my marker, and I'm going to go a dot for the lower one. And for these 2 110s, I'm going to do a dot for the lower one, or underscore, underline, whatever you want to call it. Alright, so I'm confident I can take these out, put them back in the same place. I'm going to pull them out of there. Now these 2 little jumpers here, this was the whole grief that we had when we bought the new machine. You see how these jumpers work, how they're wired together. this jumper part and this jumper part weren't on the new machine. And that's what caused all the trouble for that production unit. Alright, so we got another Phillips screw that we got to take out. So this board should come free now. It does. And like with any machine, I guess, when they're working, everything's great. And when they're not, that's when the headaches occur, and it's all part of owning gear, I guess. I know that when these two machines are running correctly and the setter is going, you don't have a whole lot of time to stand around and twiddle your thumbs, because you're constantly on the move. So I think for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the SX and the 12 volt and the last one there is the ground, marked GND. Alright, so that's done. Now, next is these top ones. And these are all numbered 1 through 12. So I think the easiest thing to do is just to let them all go and put them all back in one by one. Alright. The two rail pole, those two relays, will pop them back on near the end of it. So I'm gonna, this was in behind this black wire, but I'm gonna take this and put it on this side just to make it easier to put these back on. So these are numbered, like I said, or I thought they were. Shit. It should be noted that in the earlier versions of the CBN sharpener, the 12 wires at the top, this is a 2018 model, the 12 wires, they're not numbered. But if you go over to a 2021-2022 version, you can kind of see that they are numbered. All the labels aren't facing forward. Yeah, they're all numbered, so having to swap out this card is a lot easier than swapping it out if they're not numbered. So, just wanted to point that out. Well, frig. I thought these were numbered. We're going to have to wing it and see how it goes. Yeah, that's a good one, isn't it? I thought for sure that these were numbered. Well, that's a good one for me. I knew I should have double checked, but I didn't. That was kind of dumb not to double check those wires. Make sure they're all numbered 1 to 12. These three I'm not really sure about. I don't know what'll happen if I put the wrong wires in the wrong terminal. Maybe nothing will happen, or maybe I'll burn it up. Who knows? We have two next. What's this wire? Is this the underscore? So the underscore is on the bottom. I'm going to back these out, make sure they're right all the way. Had to use a screwdriver just to kind of open up the inside of that terminal a little bit. L1 and the neutral. Right, so those wires are done. So we have to take out this glass fuse, put it in the F2, take off the F3 fuse, put it here. Take these rod pull fuses off. This is the P1. Now we have the P2. That one in. So we just got to put this back together. I know there's a screw down in here, but I'm going to forego putting it on just because all those wires are currently in place. There should be another screw down here. Alright, so next up is put that main aluminum panel, bolt it back onto the box. Little cover goes over this one, and this gets plugged back on. Like so. Oh, it's all back together, minus one screw, which goes down here to mount the circuit board. So I'm going to plug this back in, and we're going to turn this on. So this dummy light comes on. Light fuse comes on like it normally does. The little orange indicator means fuses or the relay is on. So then we're going to press on this one. Dummy light comes on. That light never ever did come on, but the orange indicator is on. And so I'm going to turn on the motor for the sharpening wheel. It's on. The juice works, so I'm going to shut that off though because we don't really need that running at this time. It makes a mess. Now normally what happens is as soon as I turn into engage to push rod, everything shuts off. Fingers crossed. So, best I can tell, that looks like everything worked. If that's the case, then I really lucked out getting all those back into the same position that they were supposed to be in. Alright, so we're gonna, what time is it now? Almost lunchtime. I'll get cleaned up here, move all this out of the way, and get some blades on the table, run them through the setter, and then we'll kick this in gear and see how it works. Fingers crossed, everything works okay, and we'll be good to go. Customer asked me to check to see one of the blades was scoring the wood, was marking it up, so it meant the tooth was out of place. And so yeah, just running through, having a look, seeing what's what. And oh, I got some broken teeth here. And then they get really twisty. Yes, sir. and then broke off, then they're okay. So, I mean, 4 or 5 teeth broken like this, not a big deal. Easily, just best thing to do with damage like that is just to completely break it off. There's no recovery from it. And continue sharpening the blade as normal, and the blade should cut just fine from here on in. A couple of teeth missing, won't matter. I mean, I've seen blades come through here that have 20 teeth missing in a row, and the customer still brings them back for sharpening because they still cut straight. So you can't treat it like a normal blade, but it cuts a little slower with it, and as far as he's concerned, it cuts just fine. So you can do an awful lot of damage to the blades, and you can still, they're still recoverable. So we're running our first blade through with the recently replaced circuit board. It seemed to be going well, but then I ran into a hiccup. This blade has a tooth completely broken off, and so it won't advance forward. It's not catching the tooth. So the solution I have for that is I take a file and I'll make a place on this damaged area for the pawl to hook onto. So let's try this. There we go, it works. That's how you fix a broken tooth. Well, that fix worked. Swapping out that circuit board. I put about 10 or so blades through this afternoon, and it's still going strong.